Welcome to the deep dive. When most of us think about AI, we probably picture something abstract, right?
Right.
Something that just sort of lives in the cloud
Yeah.
or is just a chatbot on our phone.
Exactly. But the reality is so much more concrete, and that's what we're going to dig into today. Our sources really show that generative AI has this massive industrial-scale physical footprint.
A footprint that's adding a huge load to, global energy and water use?
A huge and measurable load. And our mission here is to really analyze that footprint and, more importantly, ask who is actually paying the environmental bill for all of this,
Yeah.
especially in places across the global south.
Okay, so let's get into the sheer magnitude of this consumption,
Yeah,
because it's kind of staggering, isn't it?
it really is.
I was looking at that MIT research, and it found that just a single AI request can use many, many times more electricity than a standard web search.
And that's before you even get to the training. The power needed to build these models in the first place is just exponentially greater.
And then there's the water.
Yes, the water. And that's where the impact becomes so immediate, so local. We saw a report that a large data center, one of those hyperscale facilities, can consume millions of liters of water every single day,
Just for cooling.
just for cooling.
So-
To put that in perspective for you, that's about the same as the water needs of a medium-sized town.
Wow. Okay, that really brings it home.
It does.
I have to ask about that viral claim that was going around. The whole one prompt equals one glass of water idea. That was an exaggeration, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Newer studies suggest an interaction is closer to just a few milliliters. A teaspoon, maybe two.
Ah, okay.
But here's the crucial thing. It's not about the individual teaspoon. The problem is pure unprecedented scale.
Right. Billions of them.
Billions of prompts a day,
Right.
continuous model training. All of a sudden, those little droplets become reservoirs. They create immense pressure on local rivers and aquifers.
So the scale creates this very real local pressure. But what's interesting is that the sources also suggest this level of consumption isn't inevitable. It's a design choice.
That is the key question. There was a joint report from UNESCO and UCL that was fascinating.
What did it find?
It showed that you can make these relatively small design changes to the models and drastically cut the energy footprint.
So the fact that the industry is still going down this super resource-heavy path,
It suggests it's driven by business incentives, by a lack of regulation, not by what's technologically necessary.
which moves us directly to this idea of an equity drain. The risk is always local, but the profit and ownership are very remote.
It's a classic extractive pattern. These data centers are often sited in the global south, where land might be cheaper or the environmental rules are a bit looser.
And the local communities are promised innovation and jobs.
They are. But the reality is that the highly technical, high-paying work tends to stay with the foreign vendors. What the community gets is the consequence. This massive, water-hungry facility plugged into a system that's maybe already struggling with water scarcity or an unreliable grid.
It just makes existing problems worse.
It worsens existing vulnerabilities, exactly. The models, the subscription fees, the productivity gains, all that economic value flows back to a handful of tech giants in the global north.
It really does feel like we're risking a replay of old patterns, where local resources, land, water, data, are used to build someone else's digital empire.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So what does this all mean for policymakers? For, say, corporate boards?
Well, for governments, a responsible AI policy has to mean asking some really hard questions about infrastructure guarantees.
So before any deal gets signed.
Before any deal, you need mandatory, transparent environmental impact assessments that focus squarely on water security and energy stability.
And what about the companies actually using the AI?
They have a huge role to play. Boards should be grilling their tech providers, asking about the energy mix, the cooling technologies, the environmental standards of the data centers they rely on.
Basically, be a more demanding customer.
Exactly, and be honest about whether you really need a heavyweight AI system when a simpler, lighter tool would do the job. It's about aligning your digital strategy with your climate and water strategies.
Because the promise of AI, better healthcare, smarter agriculture, that's all real and incredibly important.
It is.
But those benefits won't just automatically flow to the communities that are bearing the environmental cost, not unless we take deliberate action now.
Right. The task isn't to reject AI. It's to insist that its physical footprint is made visible, that it's measured, and that it's governed by principles of equity. And that really leaves a question for you, our listener, to think about this week. What one transparency measure related to water or energy usage would you demand from your company's tech providers?